Now, just one day prior to the unveiling of Bernie Sanders' new Medicare for All plan, 4 more Democratic senators have decided to not only support the bill, but decided to co-sponsor the bill. Now, yesterday, one of them I mentioned was Cory Booker. Now, Booker joins Jeff Merkley, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Sheldon Whitehouse in announcing that they will co-sponsor the bill. Now, Booker announced his support on NJTV News Monday afternoon. Let me read that statement. He said, "You should not be punished because you are working class or poor. I think healthcare should be a right to all. This is something that's got to happen. Obamacare was the first step in advancing this country, but it won't rest until every American has basic security that comes with having access to affordable healthcare." Now, Booker, look, Booker, I don't trust his motives. None of you do. And you shouldn't. He's a politician. I don't trust pretty much any politician unless they have a long record. Okay. So now, that said, it's fairly clear that political pressure seems to be having some sort of an effect. Now, let me give you a couple of examples of that. When Booker blocked Sanders' bill that would allow the importation of cheaper drugs from Canada, well, progressives went after him. I went after him. I called him out for, having, for getting giant donations from the pharmaceutical industry. And we put a whole lot of pressure on him, right? And after all that pressure was applied, oh, look at that, he flipped. Later on, he decided, yes, I am going to support Bernie Sanders' plan to import drugs from Canada, which would be cheaper. Wonderful. That's good. That actually means that he responds to political pressure, okay, from his constituents. Now, the question is, will that be enough for him to actually put his name on it to vote for it? Well, let me tell you this. The number one, and you're not going to be surprised, the number one concern of a politician is to get reelected. Now, if they think that corporate money, taking corporate money and voting with the establishment will do that, then they're going to do that. Okay, voting on behalf of corporations. And that's what we've had. And that's the big problem here, right? When human beings don't pay attention to politics, when they don't get involved in politics, well, then the politicians are going to be like, well, I'm just going to go where the money is. I'm always going to get voted in, so I'm going to vote for the corporations. I'm going to line my pockets. Okay. However, if their voters start getting involved and start holding them accountable and say that you must vote for these progressive policies or we are going to kick your ass out, well, then these politicians will start to respond. Because look, all the money in the world from campaign donations, it's not going to matter if nobody votes for you. So that's what's important. Now, Hillary Clinton found that out the hard way when she lost the election. Now, shortly after Booker announced that he would co-sponsor this bill, Merkley also announced his support on Twitter. He said, "I'm co-sponsoring Senator Sanders' Medicare for All bill. Healthcare should be a right for all, not a privilege for just the healthy and wealthy." That's a much, much better statement than Cory Booker, who still talks about having access to affordable healthcare. That always bothers me. It also always pisses me off. And it kind of shows me what they are really about. Again, Booker, I don't think he's in favor of actual single payer. Nonetheless, he's putting his name on this, and that's kind of a big deal. Now, just hours later, Mike also broke the news that Kirsten Gillibrand, who has come out in the past for single payer, also will co-sponsor the bill. And then, of course, you finally have Sheldon Whitehouse, who announced his endorsement last Friday through a spokesperson. Now, the spokesperson said Senator Whitehouse intends to co-sponsor this bill to move the conversation, sort of weak sauce, forward on single-payer health care. The senator will also continue to press for legislation to create a public health insurance option when he co-authored with Senators Brown and Franken and has long supported. So, hey, look, if you want to support the public option, okay. And if you think that that's the feasible path towards single-payer, fine. Let's all push for single-payer anyway and see what we get. Now, Whitehouse, he's going in that direction. He says, look, man, I'm going to try to go for the more practical option, which is a public option, but I'm still going to co-sponsor single payer to see how far we can push this. Wonderful. Now, you also had Chris Murphy, There's another Democrat that signed on for this. Now, he essentially is pushing a straight buy-in to Medicare for his path to single payer. He has not signed on to this bill. Nonetheless, this is starting to be a mainstream discussion. You are seeing Democrats that are actually coming out in favor of moving towards universal health care, single-payer health care, which is the conversation, the exact conversation that we should have been having during the ACA. But hey, at least we're having the conversation now, and we're not talking about cutting the ACA or cutting healthcare. We're actually talking about expanding healthcare. So what's so amazing about this, though, and what I find interesting, is here you have politicians that are putting themselves out publicly. To give them a lot of credit, this is not easy. Their names will be on this bill until the end of time, whether or not the bill dies. Republicans will almost certainly use this to attack. And their donors in the health insurance industry, well, they can pretty much count on not getting a lot of donations anymore. They'll not be pleased. Make no mistake, this is a sign that support for single payer is now going to be the standard for Democrats come 2020. This is no longer a deviation from the party line. Remember, the party line was Hillary Clinton saying single payer will never ever happen. Well, what now? What now, Hillary? What now? Look, the point is that I'm trying to get across is that we're starting to win on this issue. The conversation is no longer, oh, we must protect the ACA. We must save Obamacare. Now we're talking single payer. And look, we even had Max Baucus, okay? Max Baucus is the most corporatist of corporatists, right? Took all that health insurance money. And then he gets out of office, and now he's like, hey, you know what? Single payer, I believe that this is inevitable. So I think it's inevitable. Now let's have a conversation on how we do this. And you know what? All this is thanks to Bernie Sanders. And not just Bernie Sanders. You've got the national nurses who've been fighting their asses off. You've got Roseanne DeMoro. You've got all the other activists that were inspired by Bernie Sanders. And people have been pushing way before Bernie Sanders to go and try and get a Medicare for all single-payer system. It's all of us together, the people that have been fighting for this. And it's the people that get the credit. And look, again, this is not a victory yet, but we're getting there. We're actually making progress on this issue. And what we need to continue to do is to put on that pressure, okay? And not only that, but elect politicians that will actually serve us. And if there's a politician in the way that will not go for Medicare for all and will not push for single payer, then we need to vote them out. If you're in our way, move, or we will move you. It's because we need to join the rest of the industrialized world in providing health care, not access to affordable health insurance, but health care to the people of this country, because it is a right, not a privilege, and single payer is inevitable. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.